This is indeed a disturbing universe.
Hello, greetings, and welcome. Welcome to the Stereo 999 YouTube channel. I am your host, the artist formerly known as Stereo Steve. And what are we going to do this week? We are going to do the progressive rock, progressive music tag for 2025, started by Beer and Vinyl. I will put a link to his video in the description, like I do, and got 15 questions, and as usual, the questions are the recipe, and the records that I convolute each question into showing is the food. Favorite progressive, this is question 1, favorite progressive release or purchase of 2024. Well, this last year, 2024, I kind of went hog wild on Record Store Day stuff for some reason, where usually I don't. So one of the things I got was this. This is Neu!, of course, the krautrock band started by former members of Kraftwerk. But this was released on vinyl in 2024's Neu! Tribute, which I think was originally a CD in a box set. But it's all like remixes, etc., of classic Neu! Tracks. And beautiful clear vinyl. Question number 2. Latest discovery or deep dive. And this is another Record Store Day thing. I just bought it because it looked interesting. This group is called Band X. And they've got, they're kind of jazz fusion-y, but definitely progressive in their compositional and song structuring. Distorted vibraphone front and center, kind of like Stark Reality. Band X, not Brand X, but Band X. And the best of, and I think this was actually just their only album that they put out in 1976, Picking Mushrooms with Rabbit. Question number 3. An artist or musician that we lost in 2024. Mike Pinder from the Moody Blues. Question of balance, because it's all them. There's no London Symphony Orchestra or anything like that. It's all them, and the spoken word piece is not till the end of the album. It has Question, which is just one of the greatest songs ever, and you know, the lyrics are about pollution and war and stuff, a lot of things that are still concerns today that were in the early 70s. But Mike Pinder, he was very responsible for the trippiness and otherworldliness of their music. Just all the tablas and sitars, all the keyboards, all the just next level trippy mellotron playing that just kind of was a blanket over their songs was Mike Pinder. Rest in peace. All right. Question 4. Album celebrating 50 years, so released in 1975. And I was going to bring this up in a previous video, and I didn't get around to it because this was actually my first major score of 2025. It was January 1st, and I found this CD, Van de Graaff Generator, God Bluff. I did not have this one, and this was a progressive rock milestone, you know, the great Peter Hamel on vocals. But this album's from 1975. It was made after a gap of a couple years from their previous album. And it's dark and heavy, like most of Van der Graaf Generator's material. And it's worth checking out.
Oh no, you can't leave yet. You gotta have a nice cup of tea with me.
Question 5. Show an album that represents a progressive subgenre. So like space rock, progressive metal, jazz fusion, krautrock, you know. So the progressive subgenre that I am going to represent for this question is rock in opposition, or RIO. Rock in Opposition was a movement representing a collective of progressive bands in the late 70s, united in their opposition to the music industry that refused to recognize their music. In other words, these were bands that were deemed not commercial enough by the big record labels, and they doubled down and put out their records, started their own labels, and continued to push the envelope. Universe Zero from Belgium, Stormy Six from Italy was part of that, Art Zoid, Aksak Maboul. But the band that really started that movement, Henry Cow. Henry Cow, and this is their brilliant album, Unrest. And, of course, the great Fred Frith on guitar, who did a lot of stuff, played with everybody from the Residents to John Zorn later on. Fred Frith, Chris Cutler, but yeah, this album, Unrest, by Henry Cow, has some great tracks, Bitter Storm over Ulm, and Half Asleep, Half Awake, which is just beautiful. And then it gets crazy. But yeah, look up some Rock in Opposition if you really want to go to the outer fringes of prog rock. Question 6. Show an instrumental album or song. And I'm going to show an instrumental album by a band called Griffon. Upside down. Griffon, or Griffin. And Griffon, an English progressive band, formed in London in 1972. And they added like medieval folk and Renaissance music to their sound. They actually, on one of their other albums, did a song written by King Henry VIII. But this album, Red Queen to Griffin 3, is all instrumental, and it's kind of a concept album. It's supposed to be about the ups and downs of a chess game. First song called Opening Moves, last song called Checkmate. Some good Hobbit music, It's got recorders and crumhorn and bassoons, along with the keyboards and drums and guitars. And I gotta listen to this one some more. I haven't listened to this one in a while.
Good evening. I hope you all are enjoying a wonderful night. I'd like to talk a little bit about nothing. And this nothing is the transcendent. It's the unified field. It's no hyphen thing. It's pure consciousness. Tonight you probably heard a lot about consciousness is all there is. And I've heard many talks Maharishi would sometimes refer to this transcendent as nothing. But it has the potential for everything. Now picture the year 1968 And the Beatles have gone to Rishikesh, India to study with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi in his ashram there. And during the day, they're either meditating or listening to talks by Maharishi. And Maharishi starts talking about this field within as nothing, unmanifest, no hyphen thing. And you can see John Lennon picking up on this and saying to Maharishi, Maharishi, are you trying to tell me that nothing is going to change my world? And they would laugh.
Show your favorite record label is question number 7. Favorite record label could be design, artist on the label. All right, well, I'm just going to go for like label, and this is a label that everybody loves. I'm going to show this. Remember Jade Warrior. I'm going to get back to them in a minute. But they're on the Vertigo, and collectors are always apeshit for the Vertigo Swirl label, and for good reason, because it's cool, and because there's some really great and interesting and obscure records on the Vertigo Swirl label with the flying saucers. And if you could not tell already, this label was created by the great Roger Dean. Question number 8. Local hero. Show an album by an artist from your home country, state, province, etc. Sons of Champlin. And they kind of get lumped in with the San Francisco hippie sound, you know, with the Airplane, the Dead, Quicksilver, etc. But they were kind of different. They were a horn rock band. They had a big horn section. In fact, the frontman Bill Champlin joined Chicago later. But if I could name a genre for this, I would call it hippie prog, because the songs are about peace and love and getting high and freedom. You know, there's even a song called Get High and a song called Freedom that takes up the entire fourth side of the album. But I hear all the ingredients of prog rock in here, you know, combining jazz and rock, convoluted song structures, long tracks. Yeah, listen to this record with prog in mind, and it works. Here's a little interesting thing about this album cover. If you see these little balloons here, one of them, if you look really close, says "Big Fucking Deal." But just like the middle finger on the Moby Grape record, Capitol Records didn't realize until they were printed out, and then they recalled them. And I don't know if you could see this, but they recalled the record, and they got Capitol Records employees to like go over it with an eraser and get rid of the F word. And my copy is one of those copies that has the F word obliterated by an eraser. Loosen up naturally, man.
A few minutes later.
Question number 9. It bothers me. It bothers me that this artist isn't appreciated more. Show an artist or band that really deserves more attention and credit. Okay. This is from 1996, I believe. This is The Devouring by Jom Karit. And they were on the Cuneiform label, which has released a lot of great prog and rock and opposition and math rock and a lot of live soft machine stuff. A lot of great stuff on Cuneiform label. But this band, they go back to the 80s and they're still going. and kind of proto math rock, very prog this album, with the structures and just the captivating sounds. If you like Ozric Tentacles, this band is very similar, maybe a little more complex in their song structure. So yeah, D-Jam Carrot from Topanga, California, formed in 1984, still going. All right, now we're on question 10. Question 10, The Contrarian. Share your unpopular opinion, album, lineup, song, etc. All right, unpopular opinion. All right, I'm going to bring it back to psych rock, because I always bring it back to psych rock, because I'm a stoner. But a band called July. They had some beautiful songs like Dandelion Seeds and My Clown. I think they only made one record while they were together, which is like a huge deal, collector's item. The guitarist and drummer from July, after they broke up, formed a band called Jade Warrior. Jade Warrior made a few albums on Vertigo that had a singer, and then they made a few albums on Island that were all instrumental. That was like those two guys with a bunch of guests. My hot take, my unpopular opinion, the Jade Warrior was better than July. And this album on Island, Floating World, it's just beautiful. It's like ambient prog. It's like spacey and hypnotic, and then with flutes and other instruments, and then it builds up to some heaviness. It's heavy and meditative at the same time. And I recommend all their instrumental albums that came out on the Island Records label. Tony Duhigg and John Field from July made a bunch of albums with Jade Warrior, and they're all worth checking out. Question 11. Who did it better? Show a progressive band covering a song, or an artist covering a prog song, or just a cover song. This is a compilation album. Found it in a thrift store when I was a teenager. As you can see, part of the cover was tore off, and I tried to fix it with a Sharpie. But this compilation is called The New Age of Atlantic. Came out in the UK, has all these artists here. But the tracks from Led Zeppelin and Yes are kind of deep cuts, because it starts out with Led Zeppelin, Hey Hey What Can I Do?, which at the time was only available on a 7-inch 45, and then it ends with Yes doing their lengthy and epic cover of America by Simon and Garfunkel, where they turn it into a 12-minute long prog rock epic. Yes did a bunch of cover songs on their really early albums, actually. There's Beatles songs and Buffalo Springfield songs, and yeah. So yeah, America by Yes. Question number 12. Still going strong. Show an older artist who is still going strong today. I was thinking of a few, and I thought Magma from France. They sing in their own made-up language. Cobain play their own genre of music called Zool. And this is the most recent Magma album I have. Kontarkos Anterni. K.A. Kontarkos Anteria. and it's from 2002, and it's pretty epic with the choirs, and they've gone through a lot of different memberships, but it was always the drummer and composer Christian Vander who was in charge. And I looked on the internet, and it looks like they're still touring around Europe. You know, a couple of times they made it to America, and I saw them, and they were pretty amazing. So yeah, Magma. Question 13. That's not prog, is it? Show an album or artist that could be prog or not. Get some panties in a bunch, he says in his text here. But this is From the Cradle to the Grave by the English punk band The Subhumans. Now, in the old school punk, there is the English Subhumans and the Canadian Subhumans. But yeah, the English Subhumans were closer to the anarcho-punk in their philosophy. And this album, the title track, From the Cradle to the Grave, is a sidelong epic. And it tells a story of how people are being conditioned to fight in wars and do the government's bidding from birth by the system. And I was talking to somebody else, and he was like, that's prog rock. Doing a song that takes up the entire side of an album that tells a story. That's prog rock. And I'm like, yeah. And you know, with the way the world is going these days, I feel like I'm gonna need more angry music in my rotation. Question 14. Show an album by a band with a female member or guest. Alright, and I'm going to show Renaissance. Renaissance originally came out of the Yardbirds, but then after the former Yardbirds left the band after the first album, they got the great Annie Haslam on vocals. Would this be considered one of their later albums? Because it's from 1977. It's called Novella. And I think two different covers, like the same cover with different color schemes. But I see this one less often with the green, so that's why I bought this one on Sire Records. But great female vocals, great keyboard, nice long songs. Don't snooze on Renaissance. Their records are GP. Question 15. An artist or band you want to dive into or get back into this year. Okay, well here's the artist I think I'm going to be getting back into this year. Partly because of what I said before about angry music, that we're going to need more angry music in this coming golden era. Tool. I feel like I'm going to be listening to a lot more Tool. I listened to them a bunch in the late 90s, and then I kind of dropped off. You know, they put a lot of thought into the packaging, like this one, Enema, with the lenticular cover that does this. And they even dedicated it to the late great comedian Bill Hicks, who would have a lot of things to say if he was still alive. But anyway, that's the tag, and thanks for watching, and I'll be back next week, either with the 20 questions or with the punk rock tag, or maybe some other tag that'll get my attention. Okay then, that's my video. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and peace.